You know, the main problem is we all got to this point in different ways. There's no set rule book where, like, if you got to this point of Eustachian Tube Dysfunction, trouble, or tinnitus, that you can do this, or if you got this problem, you can do that. We all have arrived differently. We've arrived through cold. Some of us had a cold, so now we're here. Some of us took a flight and it didn't go so well, maybe with turbulence and the elevation, so now we're here. Some of us had a surgery, or we had some kind of dental work done, so now we're here. So this is why it makes this condition so hard to troubleshoot and come to a resolution with all of this, is because you get to this point of frustration of having this condition through many different avenues. But I will say this, what I'm going to tell you right now is going to apply to all avenues. It's going to apply to no matter how you got this condition, through a cold, through a sinus infection, through some dental work, or just some situations of injury. It's all going to apply with controlling that mindset, controlling where your thoughts are going. No, it's not a coincidence. When you start thinking bad thoughts, you start thinking about the bills that are due, you start thinking about the trouble on its way, someone you're dealing with at work, you're dealing with problems at your home, you have things you need to fix, you have things you need to do better in, you hear this, you hear that. The minute you start going into that state of mind, your troubles of your symptoms, your issues start to go all the way up. And guess where it resides in? It resides in the neck region. It starts tightening the neck, starts tightening the shoulders. And from there, you start developing all this swishing sounds. You start developing this muffling sounds. It all starts and stems from your thoughts alone. Now, am I saying to completely cut out all your thoughts, eliminate all doubt? No. What I'm saying is make the awareness known. Make the awareness of knowing that as you start to drift away a little bit with your mindset, just know that those symptoms come from that issue of drifting alone. Yes, there's a lot of situations where there are things that you're doing. It could be related to caffeine, could be related to poor posture. We get all of that. A lot of us have become aware of the things that trigger Eustachian Tube Dysfunction. But for those of you that are doing those things right, you are cutting out the caffeine. These are the more experienced of the ETD sufferers that I'm speaking to here. You cut out that caffeine. You're improving that posture. You're taking time to exercise. You're improving your diet. You're getting rid of some of those inflammatory foods. And you are at the point now where now you're fighting with your thoughts. These are the folks that I'm speaking with more so in this situation here. Because when you get to this point, so it's almost like you plateau. You're like, okay, I have completely exhausted everything I can possibly, improve in, and yet I'm still feeling this. The minute I started to think about the things that I need to do better in, and it's okay to have a self-reflection, but when it becomes a sense of like beating yourself up and just like weighing in on whatever's not right, and you're just hyper focused on the things that are not right, you'll start to notice that the neck starts to tighten up. It's like your body's listening to your words, and in fact it is. So you start getting that stiff neck, you start having inability to turn your neck, you start feeling dizzy, you start feeling off balance. All of this is stemming from where your mind is. So like I said, this applies to every situation. However you got here, this applies to the same thing. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice on how to conquer some of that. So the first thing you want to not do is create an excuse method of limitation. What do I mean? So someone invites you out hiking, or to a dinner or a baseball game, or somewhere that you are familiar with and you feel comfortable doing otherwise, but because of your symptoms and the way you feel, you come up with an excuse and you say, I can't do it. Even though your schedule is wide open, you got availability, but you're feeling this sense of limit, and you're like, I'm not even gonna try it. No, thank you. I'm not going out there making myself look like a fool. What this does is this creates a limitation with the mind and the body. This creates a limitation from within you. So anytime you are approached with something, you're going to think, okay, I'm not gonna do well, so why even do it? This extends how long you have ETD, believe it or not. It will extend the length. This will make it seem like everything you do will result in an embarrassment. It will result in some discomfort. And that is what I was doing for the first half of my struggle is I was creating this limitation excuse method, where it's like I would do this stuff normally, but because of how I feel, I wouldn't do it because I just don't feel like I could do it. I feel like I would go out there and make myself look bad, and even worse, leave in the middle of whatever that thing is. You have to develop this sense of I'm gonna do it. Especially if it's not harmful to your body. It's not dangerous. Going out to dinner with friends, yes, there's gonna be days you don't wanna do that stuff. And yes, you might not wanna sit through a basketball game or a baseball game or a football game or go somewhere where you're just gonna be kind of like in the spotlight almost kind of per se. And so you're like, I don't wanna do that. Please do not create that crutch. Do not create that crutch where you feel like you're limited by how you feel in the present, because you're only preparing yourself to be limited in the future if you continuously cancel or decline offers from people or just say I'm not doing this or doing that. This is what extended my problem for 3 years, is just saying I can't do this. I avoided the mountains like you wouldn't believe, just because I felt like the elevation would be too much to handle, so I would just avoid it. But I didn't realize that avoiding just the mountains was making me irritable to do simple things like go into a grocery store or go to a carnival or go to a farmer's market where there's people and I don't have places to go run to when I feel bad. It's just I'm in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. Try your best to talk yourself out of canceling, because that's really going to cause a lot of problems. The next thing is, don't be so hyper focused on how much you feel and how often you feel this or how much you feel that. Don't get too hyper focused on that. So meaning, don't be sitting there trying to figure out every little reason of why you feel this way. Oh, I just heard a swishing sound. It's because I ate this banana before I had my water. Or like, if you start doing that specific diagnosis in the spot of what you're going through and what you're feeling, you're going to start overwhelming yourself. Like, everything doesn't match that way. Like, you can do things and not feel things all the time. Like you're going to feel a certain way just because your body is trying to go back to factory settings. It's trying to take you back to comfort. And you have to almost let it go through that process a little bit without over-diagnosing everything you do. I was getting to that point where I was charting every little thing, even if it was important things to chart down, things that were not important. I was just, every time I ate something or did something, I would relate my symptoms to that thing I didn't do right or didn't do this right. If you start doing that too much, you're going to overwhelm yourself, put yourself in a state of panic. It's just not going to be good for you to get through whatever it is that you're feeling. So my advice is be aware. I've always told you guys in the past, yes, it's good to keep a journal of things that you want to avoid, things you want to, improve upon. But when you get to the point where you're hyper focused on everything, like, because you're going to feel things, it's okay to feel things. It's okay to feel that swishing sound. It's okay to feel that crunching sound. It's okay to do that. Of course, you don't want to be in pain, but it's okay to go through these little motions so that way you get to the other end, and then you'll start finding some clarity. As you start feeling a little bit better, don't be so alarmed when certain days pop up and you don't feel as great as you did before. That doesn't mean that you're losing all that momentum. It doesn't mean you lost all that work. It just means that the body is still in a state of trying to prepare you for that full healing. Even when you're healed, you're going to have days where you don't feel well. But this condition, yes, I will say, this condition will make you a little bit analytical about everything. And sometimes you have those good days, you start really extra celebrating that, and then the next day you don't feel so great anymore and you're beating yourself up because you're like, I just climbed this entire mountain, now I've slid all the way down. See, you create this imaginary mountain in your head of being at the top, and then 1 or 2 days in a row you don't feel so well, you think you're all the way down at the ground again from ground zero. And I did this a lot too, so I think this is something that a lot of you probably will do if you're not already doing it. You think that a couple of bad days equals 100 days past that are going to be worse, and all of those 100 days that you worked hard with are going to go down the drain, and that's not what it means. It just simply means that it could be you had 1 less hour of sleep, or you had a day where you didn't really pay attention to your posture. We're human. You're not going to do all these things right every day. But the important part is where you center that attention from the mind. If you center that attention to thinking that you screwed this day up, or you messed everything up, you're going to focus in as such. And because you're focusing on that, you're going to start embodying that. The subconscious and the conscious mind are the two layers of our thinking. And if you don't act accordingly, you're going to fall deep into the deep end. Okay, you want to be aware of how we're split between conscious and subconscious. Stay in the subconscious mode, where the subconscious doesn't know any better. It doesn't know good from bad. It just accepts everything. Your conscious mind is where you start overanalyzing everything. So if you feel bad a certain day, you're going to think, oh, I'm going to feel bad tomorrow. I'm going to feel bad next week. Oh, Johnny's wedding is in a month and I feel bad already. You're already preparing to accept that you're going to feel bad on that day, even though in the present you still have a lot. You have some groundwork that you can be doing to improve yourself and improve that thinking. So don't go down that rabbit hole, because if you do that, you start doing it over and over and over. You start really just layering all yourself up so tight to where you have that panic attack. And then once you have that, then you're going to have to really put the work in to not have it again. And it all starts with what? The way you think. So I hope this video was very helpful for you. If it was, please take time to subscribe to the channel. I try to bring content as often as possible. But in the meantime, I'm going to step out of the Jaye Wellness Studio and leave you in good hands with this video. Like anything else, folks, we're here to simply go back to the basics. Take care, everybody, and I will catch you in the next video.